In the cell, a process called cell respiration occurs. The beginning of this process is called glycolysis. Glycolysis is a process in which pyruvates are created. The beginning of the process starts when glucose is broken down into 2 ADP plus 2 phosphates. This uses 2 ATP for energy, which is called the energy investment phase. In the next phase, called the energy payoff phase, is when 4 ADP plus 4 phosphate is turned into 4 ATP. This then goes to 2 NAD plus 4 hydrogen, which is produced to 2 NADH plus 2 hydrogen. And finally, the 2 pyruvates are created plus 2 H2O molecules. In this video, you see Regan throwing all of the ATP and ADP and phosphates along with the 2 NADs and hydrogens. Now you have 2 pyruvates ready to be oxidized, plus 2 H2O molecules. Once the pyruvates enter the mitochondria, they go through a series of enzymatic reactions that removes one CO2 and oxidizes what's left of the molecule, forming NADH and NAD+. The product of these reactions is a highly reactive compound called acetyl-CoA. The acetyl group of this compound will feed into the citric acid cycle for further oxidation. Here you see the removal of CO2 and the formation of NADH and NAD+. In this clip, you see the 2 pyruvates traveling around the complete circle of the citric acid cycle. Since NAD is reduced to produce NADH, the production comes with the release of 2 CO2. Here you see 3 NAD plus being reduced to 3 NADHs. In this part of the citric acid cycle, ADP and phosphate combined to make ATP. Lastly, fat accepts 2 electrons and 2 protons to become FADH2. Embedded in the inner membrane of the mitochondria in eukaryotic cells lies the electron transport chain. This chain of electrons is referred to as protein complexes 1 through 4. Once NADH feeds electrons into the first component of the complexes, one of these proteins facilitates a series of redox reactions, shuttling these electrons downhill from one component to another, with each structure down the chain having a higher affinity for electrons than the last. This process does not generate ATP, but a byproduct of this series of electron transports is a generation of protein gradient across the membrane. Proteins accumulate outside the inner mitochondrial membrane, which then go to power another protein process called ATP synthase. In the ATP synthase protein complex, which is represented by the last slide in the footage, creates ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate due to the hydrogens inside the inner membrane space that flow back across the membrane, which turns the rod-like structure in the protein complex. This is called chemiosmosis. After all these processes are finished, about 30 to 32 ATP are generated, which provides cells with energy they need to function.
Wonders of His love. Wonders of His love.